Santificado sea tu nombre. Venga a nosotros tu reino. Hágase tu voluntad, así en la tierra como en el cielo. Danos hoy nuestro pan de cada día. Perdona nuestras ofensas, como también nosotros perdonamos. No nos dejes caer en la tentación. Líbranos del mal.
Welcome everyone. It's so nice to see so many people here, knowing that it's a little cold outside. Now, you know, in some states, this isn't really that cold. So I
agree.
Again, go back to normal. Gradually, it warms up again, but to get a break. Also, how many times
Oh, it's okay. It's okay. Two is okay. Two is okay. Oh, it's cool. It's like my best.
Twice last year, a full year. I say this to make you feel better because years ago, and I was very, very well. I went off to the University of Wisconsin for my master's degree back in the mid-1970s. I can honestly say that for months, at 3:30, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, so you would leave in the morning, start, and then school would have to start every day. It was snow on the ground, and it was windy, it was cold. I remember it was windy.
Yes, Wisconsin.
I remember the temperature for 15 days didn't get above 5 below zero.
That's it.
And if you've never lived in cold before, I didn't have the right clothes for that. So I'm overcompensating today. You know that. So it's a little weird. I'm standing up here with this bed. Get over it. It's gonna be okay. But seriously, unless you've lived in a cold place, you don't understand how lucky you are to be in Oklahoma. And one last story about Oklahoma weather. I had a very good friend, Jonathan Hammercroft, one of the really interesting people that we knew the last 10, 15 years. He's a political theorist. He wrote a wonderful book about the whole question of sovereignty. And he ended up in England. He got a job in England. But he said, the hardest thing for me about my decision to leave Oklahoma is this. I grew up in Montreal. And I lived there until I was in my 20s. And then moved to Minnesota. And lived in the Twin Cities until I was almost 30. Then I came to Oklahoma. And this is what he said. I have never seen a place where the sun shines so much as Oklahoma. And I've never thought of that. Someone told me that. And I remember hearing that and thinking, that's true. But I think we take that for granted. Really, the fact that you have so many days, months, when it's just beautiful. You have beautiful sunshine, even today. sunny day. Beautiful, even though it's, as you know, very cold. So, I want to talk about two people briefly tonight. One, I don't think many people know about, and the other one, people know about, but I don't think they know the whole story. I don't know the whole story. But the first one is someone named Bernardino de Sahagún, Sahagún. Bernardino de Sahagún, these are images of Bernardino de Sahagún, lived in the 16th century. He was born in Spain. He early on became a Franciscan. In those days, it wasn't unusual for a person already, it wasn't really that unusual in the 1960s, for a person already to go off and live in a seminary at age 12, 13, 14. Early on, he entered the Franciscans. He was a Franciscan all his life. He wanted to be a missionary. Bernardino de Sahagún wanted to be a missionary. So finally, they said, please hold their foot. That's a phenomenal image. Because he wanted to be a missionary, so they sent him to what is now one of my favorite places to talk about, Mexico. And he goes to a couple of areas outside of Mexico, what is now Mexico City. It's now Mexico City. By the 1530s, he arrives, and one of the first things he decides is, I'm going to learn native language that will be useful for me to do gospel, to teach catechism, to do the things that I need to do as a missionary. And he took on the study of Nahuatl, as we know, was the lingua franca of Mesoamerica. Okay, two questions. What does lingua franca mean? It's the language that most people know because it's the official language. It's the language of trade. It's the language of trade. It's the language of the rulers. And not only of the rulers, but of the ruling groups, the noble families. They know Nahuatl. Nahuatl is their language. Nahuatl is still spoken by about 11 million people in Mexico. And for many, it's a second language, but for many, it's a first language. But they learn it, they know it. Mostly, it's a spoken language, and then they, of course, know Spanish as well. But they know some Nahuatl. In the days of Bernardino de Sahagún, Nahuatl is very, very important. It is said that he developed a mastery of Nahuatl that was probably second to none in what was then La Nueva España, colonial Mexico. Among the Spanish people, among the missionaries, he was considered the great master of Nahuatl, and he started collecting texts. How many go back to that? There it is. He started collecting texts, manuscripts. Now, when the pre-Columbian peoples and post-Columbian in the sense that in the 16th century they continue writing and preparing manuscripts, the manuscripts in Nahuatl are almost all, in fact they all are, pictures, picture writing. It's picture writing. What is picture writing? Is there a name for picture writing? What is it? Pictographs, yes. Often an image contains more than just one or two meanings. It can have many meanings, and it can include all kinds of dimensions. For example, I don't know if you can find this one, but one of my favorites is the image of an eagle. And you see coming out of the eagle's beak what looks like a roll of paper, a manuscript, a scroll coming out. The meaning of that image is Huatli, which is eagle in Nahuatl, Huatli Huatzin, which speaks, the eagle that speaks. Huatli Huatzin, does anyone know? I know that Lisa knows. Huatli Huatzin is to us, is Juan Diego. Juan Diego is his Christian name. Juan Diego is a Christian name. When you are baptized, you take on, of course you take on a new name, a new identity. And for him, that name was Juan Diego. No, Spanish, a Christian. Juan, St. John, and Diego, St. James, and St. Santiago. Diego. Juan Diego is Huatli Huatzin, the eagle who speaks. He was from a town called Hualtitlan, the place of the eagles. Tlan means place. Hualtitlan would be the place of the eagles. He was from Hualtitlan. I think it's Hualtitlan with the sea. Hualtitlan. And we know that Juan Diego lived there. Now I know some of you are thinking, oh, no, this is here we go again. There was no, as we know, there was no Juan Diego. I mean, this is what the famous Abad Schulenberg once said. There was no Juan Diego, but of course, if you know a little bit more about history than he knew, you know that in 1666 there was a very famous investigation where many witnesses were brought in and questioned about the existence of this person named Juan Diego. And in each case, all the people were from Hualtitlan. They said, of course, there was me. My father knew him. My uncle knew him. My grandfather knew him. My great aunt, in fact, was the cousin of his wife. He died very soon after they were married. Oh yes, his uncle knew my uncle. All these documents were lost for centuries. They were found later, and they're called the Informes de 1666. Can we go back to that one just before that time? It's the one that had 12 people. There it is. Hualtitlan. This is Hualtitlan today. Hualtitlan, the place of the eagle, and most famous for its famous Hualtitlan, the eagle who speaks, Juan Diego. By the way, who was Juan Diego? Just for the record, you know who Juan Diego was? I keep talking about Juan Diego as if everyone knows Juan Diego. But everyone's on a first name basis with Juan. But so who is Juan Diego? Do you know? Right, that's the story of the Virgen de Guadalupe. The witness is Juan Diego. This is Juan Diego. Juan Diego from Hualtitlan. Well, anyway, getting back to Bernardino de Sahagún, Bernardino de Sahagún studied Nahuatl texts so much that he was considered the great master. He collected a whole series of manuscripts. He had a whole stack of manuscripts because the Nahuatls, the Mexicas, what their real name was, from them we get the name Mexico. Mexico comes from Mexica, which means the ombligo of the world. Mexico, the place in the middle, the belly button, the ombligo del mundo, meaning Mexico in Nahuatl. And the Mexicas have many manuscripts with all these pictographs. There's some from the Florentine Codex. By the way, see if you can guess what university it published. an English translation and collection of the Florentine Codex and works of Bernardino de Sahagún. Yes, the University of Oklahoma, published by the University of Oklahoma Press. A wonderful, wonderful contribution to the scholarship on the Florentine Codex. It's called the Florentine Codex because it's a codex that ended up in Florence. Now, how could it have ended up in Florence this way? There were some very prominent and very learned Italians who, long after Sahagún was dead, went to Spain. They were very interested in New Spain, and then from there they went to New Spain, well, I find out, and they also became great collectors. The most famous of these collectors was a person named Botolini de Senaducci, a very, very famous Italian who, in the 18th century, collected what we now think probably, he had a collection so large it constituted, as far as we know, about 25% of all the existing manuscripts of all the Nahuatl manuscripts. This one person had once in his possession. He was then Lorenzo Botolini de Benaducci, was expelled from Mexico. He was accused of trying to, to collect a special collection so that he could put together, I think, kind of, I'm going to call it a whole series of images of important documents related to the Virgin of Guadalupe. That actually, if you look at that image, it's of him holding a manuscript that has on it the image of the Virgin of Guadalupe. The library at the Basilica in Mexico City of the Virgin of Guadalupe is called the Botolini Library. It's named after this person, Lorenzo Botolini de Benaducci. He collected all these manuscripts, and he started actually examining the text that Bernardino de Sahagún had collected so much earlier. But Bernardino de Sahagún has another side that might be of interest, it might not be. He was very, very, very strict in his observance of Orthodox Christianity, that is Roman Catholicism, so strict that he immediately was extremely negative of any indication, any suggestion of idolatry. And he knew so much about the traditions of the Nahuatl that he said, I don't trust any native person who holds on to any of the old traditions. Very much an enemy of any kind of syncretism. No, I don't want anything mixed. I don't want anything that even resembles any of the old practices. And because of this, one of the most famous collectors, perhaps the most famous of the 16th century, surely, of manuscripts, one of the most knowledgeable persons about the whole world of the Nahuatl, never accepted the apparition of the Virgin of Guadalupe. He did not. He said late in life, those people who are going to Tepeyac to worship are not worshiping Mary, the Mother of God. They're worshiping Tonantzin, and I do not accept it. Even after it had been accepted by Archbishop Montúfar, we do have a record of that. Even after the site had existed already by 1570, for a long, long time, 2 generations, it didn't matter. Sahagún said he would not accept it, and he wrote that. We don't know if he thought that for the rest of his life, but we do know that when he wrote his famous Historia, that he did have that view. Now, there's a document that was discovered in the early 90s that has his signature on it. Now, we know his signature because there are many documents that were signed by him. That's not so common in that age. Not everyone signed documents that they discovered or so on, essays they'd written. But in his case, we have many instances of his signature. And it is thought that he signed a document later recognizing the legitimacy of Juan Diego. It's very controversial because it's a death certificate for Juan Diego. And one of the signatures that appears on that certificate is the signature of Bernardino de Sahagún. I don't know if the document is actually a legitimate document from the period. We're not sure, but there's a big debate about it. Very big debate about that document discovered in the 1990s. Now I want to talk about someone else for a minute who lives at the same time as Bernardino de Sahagún, dies earlier, but lives at the same time. In fact, he's the one that I said you would know about, and that is Hernando de Cortés, right? Everyone knows that name, right? Hernan Cortés, you say in English, right? Hernando and Fernando are the same name. Did you know that? The F and the H are interchangeable, really, almost up to about 1525. Hernando, Fernando, Fernandez is the word Fernando with is on the end, which is the Arabic son of. So son of Fernando, Fernandez. Hernan Cortés, we're not sure what he looked like. Of course, this is a depiction. It's hard to know, but we actually know a lot about his life. You know that when he was born in Medellin, not Colombia, a place in Colombia named after his hometown in Extremadura, he also lived in other towns in Extremadura. He had, I guess, he was a kind of uneasy young man, always interested in trying new things, and his parents, who were from a lesser nobility, but still it was a noble family, they wanted him to be educated, so they sent him to Salamanca. He lived with an uncle there. We're not sure if he learned what he learned as a student at Salamanca, it's not 100% sure, or if he learned more from the uncle he lived with there at Salamanca. Salamanca was the site of the University of Salamanca, which may have been in the mid-16th century. This is a little bit after Cortés is there. It may have been perhaps the most prominent university in Europe, right, by the 1540s. But when Cortés is there, it's still a place where you have all the religious orders sending their top students, sending their top pupils. You have people from all over Europe studying in Salamanca. And Cortés, we know this, could write well. How do we know it? From the 5 letters that are preserved, called the Cartas de Relación. He could write well, he knew law, he was trained in law, and he protected himself constantly by taking advantage of laws that he knew. He got his start in Salamanca, then he never finished his studies. It's not a beautiful site. He had to go back he went home, back to Extremadura, and at that time, we're talking now about around 1500, many people from Extremadura, a very poor region, moved to the New World seeking fortune, and he is one of them. But unlike so many of the poor soldiers who were illiterate, 90% at least were illiterate, he had training, he immediately found work, he was very skillful, he was taken on early on in Santo Domingo where he first arrived, and he had different he was given opportunities to be a clerk, and then later he moved his way up through the ranks, and then he moved to Cuba. And in Cuba, he flourished. He had all kinds of opportunities in Cuba. He lived in Cuba for several years. Cuba was really, if you think about that period between 1510, 1520, Cuba was just really almost like the headquarters for all of the activities of the Spanish in the New World. It's absolutely an important center, and Hernán Cortés has great success in Cuba. He lives there for years. When he asked if he could be part of an expedition to this faraway place, which we would now call Mexico. So I want to go there. Two groups of explorers. One group was stranded, so an expedition was sent there to see if they could find this group, and also to explore more of the area, bring back information, and bring back also any surviving Spaniards from the previous expedition. And Hernán Cortés convinced the governor there. He said, "No, I want to go. I don't want to be the one who goes." They let him go with 300 soldiers. He travels to different areas in Mexico and the South until he meets a woman. He finds a couple of the people who were stranded there. He takes them with him, and then he meets a woman. Does anyone know what this woman's name was? I'm glad you don't know, so it's something new. He meets an amazing woman, and her name in Spanish is La Malinche. La Malinche. But her name in her native language was her name is Malintzin. Malintzin. Malintzin, there's an image of Malintzin. Why is she so important? Because she met these Spanish soldiers, and she learned very quickly how to communicate in Spanish. And she already knew how the lingua franca, all of Mesoamerica. How far south does Mesoamerica go? How far south does Mesoamerica go? And Meso means middle, right? Mesoamerica, the middle. Mexico City is the capital, right? Tenochtitlan. How far south does it go? It goes into Central America. In fact, the name Nicaragua is a Nahuatl word, which means aquí termina Anáhuac. Aquí termina Anáhuac. Anáhuac is another word for the acronym. Anáhuac. So, way south. But they had tribute, there were groups that paid tribute to the Aztecs, the Mexicas, I'm using the word Mexica interchangeably. There are groups that pay tribute in Central America, but all through Yucatan, all the south. If you think of the Mexica Empire, the Aztec Empire, always think south of Mexico City, as if really Mexico City is sort of on the fringes of the north, goes south from there. So Cortés meets this woman. He would later have a child, Malintzin. She helped him. Without her help, he probably would not have been able to accomplish what he accomplished. We know what he accomplished, right? He goes to a place that he names La Villa Rica de la Vera Cruz, right? The place of the true cross. He establishes municipality there. He does it because he knows law. He knows how to do it. He appoints himself the mayor so that he has special privileges there. That city now is, of course, in English, Veracruz. 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 He's in Veracruz. He establishes the little community there. He builds a house in Antigua, not in the Antigua, Guatemala, the Antigua of the state of Jalapa. There, the state of Jalapa, Veracruz, and he arrives in Zempoala, meets the people from Zempoala who receive him well. You can go to Zempoala yourself now if you wish, and it's a wonderful, wonderful place. And he then he then starts making plans, and he starts hearing, and he already knows from Malintzin, from Malinche, that the headquarters, the people in power, the imperial capital is a place called Tenochtitlan, Mexico City. And the ruler lives there. And what is that ruler's name? His name is Moctezuma. Moctezuma. So, it's from a codex, actually. So, Cortés, with La Malinche, decides, I'm going to go see this ruler. I'm going to go there. I'm not oversimplifying. But he does this, and he travels from Veracruz, right? Whole group is traveling. When suddenly he gets word that he did not have permission to do what he's doing. So from Cuba, another force has been, a small division has been sent to bring him back, to capture him and take him back to Cuba, because he's doing something that he's not supposed to do. He didn't have permission. He immediately goes back. He meets the forces of Grijalva, beats them very easily, and says, you have two choices. You can either join me or swim back, because these boats are not going to function anymore. And he makes sure that is the case. He has them all pulled on the land and disassembled. He says, so what do you want to do? Oh, we'll join you. So they join him, and he starts marching toward the capital. Now, how does he survive? How do these Spaniards, you're talking about a lot of people now, or up to about 400, how do they survive? You know, if you don't know anything about this, you probably would never ask yourself, well, what did they eat? Who fed them? Who helped them with water? Who carried all of the things that they were carrying with them? It was native peoples. Cortés was so skillful with his interpreter that he convinced all of the groups that he had met, look, if you help me, I'll help you. Because they had this in common. This is not the story you always hear in Mexico. If you help me, I'll help you. Because we have a common enemy. Who is that common enemy? It's the Mexicas, who were brutal, more than you can even imagine. They were famous for huge celebrations where they would sometimes sacrifice 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, and on one occasion, 80,000 victims. Human victims, human sacrifice. Often taking the hearts out, eating the fingers, cutting the bodies in two, taking the trunks to zoos they had, feeding with the animals. They, in all of their territory, they demanded tribute, and also often they would take with them young people that they would use in their religious ceremonies and sacrifice. Strong believers in human sacrifice. Moctezuma was feared, but Moctezuma had spies, and he knew that there was this person who was coming to the capital. He tried to send warnings, he tried to send gifts, he tried to send all these different things. But Cortez wasn't going to turn back. He kept going with his interpreter and with the Indians who fed the soldiers corn and tortillas. What's the advantage of corn tortillas? They last a long time. You don't have to eat them that day. You can carry big stacks. You can't have an army if you don't have water and you don't have food. You know, I was talking to some friends. I said, everybody in this room can participate in a military effort. I said, no, I'm not. And of course, in the modern world, you have to have all kinds of people with knowledge of computers. You have to have every kind of mechanic, every kind of skillful person who can work on equipment and so on. Jet engines. In those days, you had to have people who could have water ready for you, who could bring food, and most of all, the flememes. Flememes are people all their lives. Their whole role is to carry things. A whole class of people we have to single out. These will be the people who carry. They believe in natural servitude. Really believed in it. In other words, this whole class were born to be slaves and they carry. That's all they do. You have people who carry things, and they also had something else. They had horses. They had horses. Mexicans had never seen them. They didn't know about horses. Horses. They also had something else. They had cannons. Who do you think carried those cannons? You can be sure that the Flemings carried cannons. They had cannons, and they had a ruler, and they had a leader, excuse me, later he a ruler, who was absolutely determined. He writes about his experiences in the Cartas de Relación, the letters. He doesn't send these letters to the governor, but he tries to send them directly to the emperor, Charles V, and who's king of Spain, 1517, and becomes Holy Roman Emperor afterwards. Charles V, his dates, I believe, are 1500, 1558, maybe 1556. He's the person that writes to 1558, 1500 to 1558. Cortes, right? He would later meet him. But he writes to him and he says, "Look, this land is amazing. You see, the capital city," he describes, when he first sees Teotihuacan, and also he describes Tenochtitlan, excuse me, Mexico City. He says it's bigger than Sevilla. Sevilla is the largest city in Spain. He said it's bigger than Sevilla. It's a bigger place. It's got all these stone construction, which the Spanish imagined that these Indians, they'd ever seen up to that time, Caribbean peoples who lived in much more simple dwellings. What Cortes describes, and here we have divided up into the 5 parts, all connected by portable bridges. All connected by portable bridges. Cortes is so smart. He sees all of this. He's taking it all in. He goes to a place called Cholulon in Tahua, just outside of Puebla, and he calls together all of the priests from the town, all of the elders from the community, all of the leaders, and this is actually a large community of people. It is said by an eyewitness, Diaz, that there were probably 3,000 people there. And he suspected them, and he accused them of trying to rebel against him. So he slaughtered all the elders, sending a message. This is how I deal with my enemies. We slaughter all. Never forgotten in Mexico, never forgotten in Cholula. And Hernán Cortés in Mexico is a very controversial figure. hardly a place where you don't find a monument to Hernán Cortés, the conqueror of the Mexicas. That is something next. In fact, I know people personally, people I've worked with, think that Hernán Cortés was the devil. The problem with that is they don't really know anything about the conquest. Because if they did, then they would know that actually Cortés, among the Spanish, among the most important Spanish conquerors, was the least brutal. Beside way the conquest of Guatemala, brutal, horrible. Cortés actually finally meets Moctezuma. No one is allowed to turn their back on Moctezuma. You approached him like this, like I'm approaching. And when you walked away, you walked back. You were not ever allowed to look away. You had to always watch Moctezuma. Cortés met him, talked to him, and the Chicas at first had people who were on Cortés. They knew what he was going to try to do. And they caught some of his soldiers trying to. They actually were trying to infiltrate, and also they were building little places that could be used in military attacks. And his men were accused of behind the scenes preparing for an attack. So he was told to leave or he would die. He had to escape his life. Cortés escaped with some of his men. Some of them got killed because they actually had already started the rebellion ahead of time. The timing was wrong. They were killed. He escaped. And he was so sick after he left. We know this from his letter and also from the eyewitness account by Fernando Diaz, that for days he was just sick, probably dysentery, but he didn't give up. He didn't go back. And he did go back. Really, to make a very long story short, he was able to weasel his way back into a meeting with Moctezuma and he captured. And once he had Moctezuma, right, as his own prisoner, he could do what he wanted. Right? The battle starts. His subjects understand we have to fight, but Cortés had a great plan. If we could go back to that now. We're going to do something that is actually, I think he was very smart in this way. He started removing all these portable bridges one by one, so that his enemy was all contained here. His enemy was all contained. After a long period of waiting, he waited them out until their military leader came out with an obsidian knife in his mouth, and he handed it to Cortés, which traditionally this meant, you take this obsidian knife and you cut me. I surrender. Cortés didn't do that. You can say how wicked, because later he wanted to use Cuauhtémoc to find out where the gold was. So he didn't want him dead yet. He spared him. Then Cuauhtémoc. Later, as we know, he was tortured Cuauhtémoc, covering his leg in oil and setting him on fire. From which he did the famous line for Cuauhtémoc. ¿Qué piensa ahora? He said, no estoy en un lecho de rosas. Not in a bed of roses. Cuauhtémoc survived with the burning torture, right, only to later be killed. But Cortés, after this, decides to change the city completely. He now is the victor. He's the conqueror of the capital city, Tiklan, and he takes out the bridges and then begins draining the lakes. They drain the water gradually with time, fill all this in with dirt, and start planting a crop that wasn't planted there before, wheat. They moved from corn to wheat. Well, what's the difference between corn and wheat? Who knows anything about these things? Corn is way more effective. You can feed so many more people in a small area. Really, a few acres can produce a lot of corn. Corn is that crop that grows there. Has always been, right? He changes all that. But actually, what we now know is that Cortés, after the conquest, is a very sensible ruler. He meets with the nobles, the noble families, the leaders. Of course, he's cruelly tortured from Timon, we know that, right? Lots of bloodshed. But slowly but surely, and he also keeps the Spanish under control. There's another place that they're not under control. One of the things that we now know about Cortés is that as the Spanish conquerors are now seen, he was probably the most effective, the most sensible, and the most respected for many, many years afterwards. The 1530s, the conquest ends, as we know, 1521. By the 1530s, he has completely made his reputation as this great leader, the great pacifier. I guess I'll end with this thought. He was cruel, he was a man of his time, he was very effective. But when compared to others who lived at the same time, he was actually less cruel than many of the other Spanish conquerors, and he was by far the most effective. And later, the noble families paid tribute to him, and he married Moctezuma's daughter, and had a family, and gave her a gift that is now called a whole area next to the city. Thank you very much. I kept you over, but I'm sure that you'll know this.
It's very brief.
You need your strength. It's gonna be both. Next week, no class. No class next week, and then only 2 more afterwards, right?
That was so good. That's your email.